Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel, following on from my last video on the Fuji film cameras from days of yore. I'm now going to talk about some of these films which I've got on these brochures as well. And I don't pretend to be an expert on all the different types of films, but I used to use some of them, and some of them I really loved. There's a lot that I never ever got round to using, but there's a great long listing in here. Once again, if you're interested in any of these brochures, contact me. Perhaps I can do a copy of it for you or something. So the first one I'm going to kick off with, and I'm not going to try and go as long as I did with this other one, but who knows, these are all totally unrehearsed. So the first one I want to talk about, which was one of my favourite films, I didn't use it a lot, but I occasionally used this on a wedding, and it was 100 ISO or ASA. It was called 100 ISO back then, and you would know this one, most of you, Fuji Reala, and or Reala, depending on how you pronounce it. But this is a beautiful film, and what I liked about it is that it was such a fine grain film. I used it on a couple of weddings, and fair dinkum, some of the shots that I took of brides and bridal parties using nice soft bounce lighting and everything, you know, it was pretty hard to tell those shots that I took with that, the difference between them and a medium format type shot, because the detail when you blew it up was fantastic. You know, very fine grain these films were, this Reala one, and the colour was really top notch. You wouldn't be able to tell that on here, but I remember one of my wedding photography students once, she rang me up one day and she said, "Jeff, I'm going I'm doing a course that I'm doing at the moment, and they want us to take some shots, and they want us to demonstrate how we're going to get an accurate photo of a purple flower, and what film should I use?" And I immediately said, "This is the one you use, Fuji Reala, because that was the only film that I ever come across that actually used to give you accurate purples when you took a purple flower." And she actually won the competition over all the other people that she was involved with, because I told her to use it. And the colours and range and everything in this film is really good. So a little bit, Fuji Color Reala, colour negative film for the connoisseur. A colour print film designed to satisfy the most demanding photographers. That was the concept behind Fuji Color Reala, and its success can be measured by the acclaim it has earned from discriminating users worldwide. I don't know whether they still make it, I don't think they do. Enhanced sharpness, superb tonal graduation, wider latitude for a wide range of exposure conditions, natural production under fluorescent lighting. With Reala you can photograph with confidence even under fluorescent or mixed lighting. There's no green cast with fluorescent lights, indoor or out. Colours are always natural and true. There you go. Superb lifelike reproduction of all subjects. World-class smooth grain. Fuji Color's superfine grain technology reduces film grain to just 1/3 the size of the grain in the previous Reala. This is a new version of it, was it? This must have been a new version of Reala. And widely considered a benchmark in ISO 100 film granularity. It's this remarkable fine grain that helps give Reala images their lifelike tactile quality, unparalleled colour fidelity. From the brightest hues to the most subtle neutral tones, there is no colour that escapes Reala. Whatever the scene, whatever the subject, trust this film for superb colour accuracy and realism. Skin tones are soft, natural and alive, and even difficult colours, particularly yellow, greens and purples, there you go, reproduces faithfully and effortlessly. And I found that to be, everything they're saying about it, I found to be true about that film when I used it. It was a bit more expensive than the others, but it was worth it if you wanted to get good quality results. Now, of course, as one of the big bugbears when you were doing weddings was always having a fast film that was good enough to give you a decent grain and good shots in available light, particularly in churches and whatever and on weddings. So this was one variation that they had, which was the Fuji Color Professional 800 NHG2. Now, I think I might have used this film or something similar to that a couple of times, and I might even still have a roll of it here somewhere. But that's a pretty good film. You could get all of these in both 35mm and 120, these films. quality results with challenging available light situations, ready for any challenge. This film allows photographers to take fully advantage of available light where using a slower film would not yield adequate results, as well as capturing the subtle moves and creative touches that often arise in challenging lighting situations. The high speed provides increased depth of field to effectively capture large groups and candid images, as well as giving greater control for freezing action with active portrait subjects such as children. There you go. There's a shot inside a church there, obviously taken with this film. And so that range of those faster films was great. I used to use, I think it was called NPS 160 and NPH 400 for my weddings, mostly 35mm films, and occasionally I'd use 120 films. What have we got here? The Professional Answer Advantage, the complete guide to Fujichrome reversal film. Your choice of a film, a powerful creative tool. And some beautiful illustrations in these brochures. Different range of things you're using these slide films. We've got Astia 100 Professional, Fujichrome Velvia, which was the favourite of all the landscape photographers, and originally that was in, was it 100 or 50 ISO? I can't remember, but they had two versions of that, which was great saturation, and I loved using that film too, but not that I did it a lot. But so the range of films they're talking about here are Provia 100F, Daylight ISO 100, superfine grain and high resolution, Velvia ISO 50, which was also, as I said, unexcelled sharpness and definition, highly saturated colours and natural grey tones, vivid colour reproduction and fine textures, particularly suitable for landscape photography requiring expressive high impact colour reproduction. Astia 100, Daylight ISO 100, that was rated at. Superb true to life colour fidelity, smooth and natural skin tones and delicate hues, excellent tonal graduation, minimal colour shifting due to variations in colour temperature, perfect for fashion and portrait photography. And then there was another one, MS 100 to 1000, supports, and that varies from ISO 100 to ISO 1000, so it supports push processing from ISO 100 to ISO 1000. And then what else do we have? This one down here was a tungsten one as well, tungsten 64T type 2, and that was of course to shoot under tungsten light. Suitable for shooting products, architecture and interiors, close-up work with illustrations and paintings and other artwork. I've been doing some paintings, reproduction shots on my digital camera for someone who's doing a book of poetry just recently. Some beautiful paintings that she's done, and just using my Canon 600 or 700D, I was amazed at the results I could get, but you had to rely on films like these in the old days to be able to get that sort of thing. Provia Professional. I won't go through all these. High performance colour negative films met the full range of professional photojournalism needs. So these were Fujicolor Press films. Fujicolor Press 400, 800 and 1600. So those are all a bit faster films for the press people to use. And then Hanamex of course used to deal with all of these films in Australia, and I won't go through it, but there's a whole list of the films there that used to be available back then. And in here they've got a beautiful photograph reproduction taken with a Velvia film. Got lots of reflections coming on there, I know that. Don't know how to fix that. Anyway, excuse me. I'm going to stop there just to whet your appetite for what life used to be like and how we used to have to get the right film for the right job, whereas these days you just dial in your ISO you want on your camera, set whatever film simulated setting you want, or just fix everything up afterwards in post. So it's a different world to what was going on back then, But I love all that film stuff, and maybe we'll talk some more about some of that a bit further down the track. So I hope you found that interesting, just a bit of a summary of just how life used to be and how us older photographers used to have to react to all of that stuff and work out what we're going to buy and how much it cost us. I used to, when I shot weddings, I used to shoot about 11 rolls of colour film at ISO 160, and I'd pick a couple faster ones. Sorry, that was when I started, but then I used to swap it over to 11 rolls of 400 ISO, and then I used to maybe find a couple of 800s, and then I'd usually get about 3 rolls of black and white film. These are all 36s, and I used to use Ilford XP2, so that was the range of films that I used to use when I was shooting a wedding. So I'd be shooting around about 11, 14, 16, up to 17 rolls sometimes of film. And of course you had to, you know, I didn't shoot like you can now with digital, just flying away all the time and shooting as many as you like. You had to be careful because of the expense, unless you were being very highly paid, about how many shots were you taking. So I learned how to control how many shots I'd take at each location, and I used to work out in advance how many rolls of film I needed. So there you go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and keep up the good work. See you later.